Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Redcat Holdings, a name that's definitely been buzzing in the drone and autonomous systems space. The central question we're tackling for you today, based on quite an extensive stack of sources, is whether Redcat Holdings is a good time to buy right now.
Yeah, we've pulled together quite a bit here. Everything from their latest financials, future projections, market sentiment, technicals. We've even got a hard look at the inherent risks. Our mission really is to cut through all that noise, distill the most important nuggets of knowledge and truly help you understand what's critical about this company's current position.
Exactly. We're looking at why this company currently sits at, well, a pretty balanced 5 out of 10 rating from our sources. It's not a clear buy, not a clear sell, just sort of right in the middle. What hidden dynamics are at play here? That's really the narrative we're trying to unravel for you today. So if you're curious about whether the stock might align with your investment goals, stick around. And while you're here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Maybe like this deep dive if you find it useful. Leave us a comment too. Tell us what you think. And if you're feeling generous, hey, consider buying us a coffee to support future deep dives. Okay, let's unpack this enigma then. Starting with that intriguing 5 out of 10 rating, what's the immediate takeaway for our listener from that?
Well, what's fascinating, I think, is that the rating directly reflects the core tension, the thing that defines Redcat Holdings right now. You've got this compelling vision for long-term growth potential, but it's weighed against really significant current risks. It's a classic high-risk, high-reward scenario. That 510 isn't indifference. It's more like a careful balance point. It suggests the market sees both compelling upside and some considerable hurdles ahead.
Okay, let's peel back the layers then and start with the hard numbers. Because for many people, the financials, the fundamentals, that's the first place they look. And our sources show a pretty dramatic picture here. Redcat's revenue plummeted from, $17.84 billion in 2023 down to $7.28 million in 2024. That's nearly a 59% drop. That's huge. And they're currently quite unprofitable with a net loss around $81.76 million.
Oh, and yeah, no dividends either. For an investor, that revenue drop alone sounds like a massive red flag, doesn't it? It absolutely is a red flag if you're looking at it through the lens of, say, traditional mature company metrics. Definitely. But this nearly 60% revenue plummet, alongside that significant unprofitability, it isn't just a sign of a struggling company in the traditional sense. For Redcat, it really signals more of a fundamental restructuring, or maybe a pivot. They're a company still very much in a heavy growth and investment phase. They're actively spending to build out new product lines, new infrastructure for the future. They aren't really focused on immediate, consistent profitability right now. This kind of aggressive investment often means short-term losses. The key insight here, I think, is how quickly can they execute on these new, potentially massive military contracts to offset those prior commercial revenue losses and, well, justify that investment.
Right. Okay. So after hearing about that steep revenue drop, you might be thinking, how are they even staying afloat? And this is where the financial picture gets a bit of a surprising twist, maybe. Our sources indicate the company actually has a pretty strong liquidity position, $9.3 million in cash and receivables. And importantly, post Q1 2025, they completed a significant $30 million capital raise. That sounds like a lifeline, doesn't it?
Indeed, yeah. A capital raise of that magnitude is absolutely critical for them right now. It significantly boosts their balance sheet strength, and crucially, it provides the financial runway they really need to ramp up production and meet that anticipated demand from those new contracts we mentioned. It demonstrates that despite the current losses, they've successfully secured the necessary funding to pursue their strategic plans. It mitigates some of the immediate cash burn concerns. It's a clear signal that the market, or at least a segment of it, is willing to fund their future bets.
Now, this next point from our sources, this actually made me pause. It's the revenue guidance for 2025. It's truly eye-popping. They're targeting $80 to $120 million. That's a massive jump from less than $8 million currently. What exactly are they betting on to achieve that kind of, well, exponential growth?
Yeah, it's ambitious, no doubt. This projection is almost entirely fueled by expected military contracts, especially the U.S. Army SRR, that's short-range reconnaissance-related Black Widow drone sales. These are potentially high-value contracts designed to equip soldiers with advanced AI-enabled reconnaissance capabilities. So this indicates a potential for incredibly strong future growth if, and it's a big if, these ambitious targets are met and they can actually deliver at scale. For investors, this is really the core of that high reward aspect we talked about, the potential for exponential growth tied directly to major government procurement. It's less about sort of general market expansion and much more about securing specific large-scale defense contracts.
Okay, so they're operating in the unmanned systems and drone industry. Focus on AI-enabled drones for military, government, and commercial uses. And they have strategic partnerships, like with Palantir, which, is a major player in its own right, but it's a fiercely competitive space, isn't it? How does Redcat truly stand out or gain a competitive edge in such a crowded and, frankly, evolving market?
It is indeed. It's very competitive. While those partnerships are definitely a plus and their expansion into maritime autonomous systems is noteworthy, the sector is intense. Redcat's competitive advantage will likely come from the specific capabilities of their AI-enabled drones, their ability to integrate effectively with government systems, perhaps their cost-effectiveness too. However, a key point is they are still scaling their operations. That adds significantly to the execution challenge and the inherent risk. This isn't a mature market with established leaders yet. It's still very much a race to innovate and deliver.
Okay, let's talk valuation then. Because when we talk about valuation for a company like Redcat, traditional metrics like, say, price to earnings, they aren't even applicable because, as we said, they're not profitable. So for the everyday investor trying to figure this out, how do we even begin to value them? What methods do our sources suggest, or what are the key figures we should be looking at?
Yeah, you've hit on a critical point there. With ongoing losses, standard profitability metrics like PE are just, well, they're out. Our sources show their market cap currently sits around approximately $668 million, but that's against trailing revenue of only about $2.29 million, which, gives them a very, very high price-to-sales ratio by standard measures. However, and this is important for growth investors, particularly those looking at early-stage companies in rapidly expanding sectors like this high multiple is often justified by the anticipated future revenue ramp-up. It's less about what they're earning now and much more about what they're projected to earn in the next, say, 12, 24 months if those big contracts materialize. It's definitely a forward-looking valuation driven largely by, well, speculative optimism.
Okay, so it's all about future potential and less about today's numbers. That makes a certain kind of sense for a company at this stage, I suppose. Are analysts buying into this future vision then? What are the experts actually saying?
Well, the analyst price targets we're seeing are quite bullish, actually. Our sources highlight one specific target at $13, which from current levels around $6.79 implies roughly 91% upside potential. That's significant. So this suggests the market, or at least a notable segment of analysts, expects substantial revenue and margin improvement down the line. They're clearly looking past the current losses towards the potential locked in those large military contracts and the new product lines. This really aligns with the high reward part of our 510 rating.
Okay, let's switch gears slightly and talk about the stock's actual movement. Beyond the financials and the analyst projections, what are the charts telling us? Our sources show the stock has declined over 26% since a recent high back in mid-June 2025. It's currently trading around $6.79, and it's also facing some resistance around that $7.12 to $7.23 level. What are the technical signals indicating for potential investors here? Is this looking like a discount or more like a warning sign?
Yeah, the technical picture certainly presents more of a cautionary tale, at least for the short term. That significant decline from its recent high, coupled with facing that resistance level, well, it means the current trend is pretty clearly bearish. Our sources confirm that both the short and long-term moving averages are flashing sell signals right now. This suggests that momentum is currently not in its favor, and the market is struggling to find sustained buying interest at these levels. So for a trader, this raises that important question. Is this a good entry point, maybe getting in at a discounted price? Or is it actually a sign of more pain to come as this downtrend potentially continues?
And it gets maybe even more intense when you look at the specific indicators. Negative MACD signals, that's the moving average divergence, a key momentum indicator. Along with volume increasing on falling prices, that doesn't sound great for the short term, does it? And the average daily volatility is quite high too, around 4.5%.
Wow. Those are indeed strong caution signals for near-term weakness, and they really confirm that bearish sentiment we just talked about. Negative MCD and increasing volume on falling prices typically indicate pretty strong selling pressure. Sellers are in control for now. And that high volatility, around 4.5% daily, means the price can move sharply, really sharply, in either direction. Now, while this introduces significant risk and can lead to quick losses, it also presents potential for quick gains for those that can somehow time their entries and exits perfectly.
Which, for most of us, probably means less precise timing and more strap yourself in for a wild ride.
Exactly. For most investors, high volatility just translates directly to higher risk. Simple as that.
So is there any floor in sight? Are there any levels where the stock might actually find some support and potentially bounce back?
Yes, our data does identify a key support level around $6.46. This is very close to the current price, actually. And it could potentially act as a floor where, you know, buying interest might emerge and maybe stem further declines. For those looking to enter, this level might be a point to watch very closely as a potential bounce-off point, but certainly not a guarantee, just a level to watch. Okay. Beyond the numbers and charts, what's the latest buzz around Redcat Holdings? You mentioned that significant $30 million capital raise, which is enabling their manufacturing scale-up. How's that being perceived by the wider market? Yeah, that capital raise is incredibly significant. It's probably one of the most positive recent developments. It directly addresses one of those key financial risks by providing the necessary capital for growth, and it indicates positive movement towards their goal of expanding production capacity. Analyst sentiment, while obviously cautious given the overall risks, is still leaning towards a consensus buy from the two major analysts covering it, and they're maintaining that $13 target. This suggests a continued belief, at least among those analysts, in the company's long-term potential, despite the current challenges. It's the kind of news that offers maybe a glimmer of hope amidst the current financial headwinds.
What about insider activity, buying or selling? Is anyone within the company making moves that would signal their confidence or maybe lack thereof?
Based on the current data available to us, we haven't actually seen any significant reports of insider buying or selling recently. Now, this can be interpreted in various ways, of course. It could mean insiders are just holding steady, or simply that no large reportable transactions have occurred. Hard to say definitively. Broader market sentiment, however, seems to point towards heightened risk, but also continued interest. And that interest is largely due to those potential government contracts and the immense future growth potential perceived in the drone sector overall.
And what are the big events on the horizon then, the things that could really move the stock? What should investors be watching for in the coming months?
Okay, the big one coming up is the earnings report. It's scheduled for August 7, 2025. It's a critical catalyst. Any updates in that report on revenue and orders, particularly those related to the military contracts, could significantly impact the stock's direction, up or down. Also, watch for news on the ramp-up of that Black Widow drone production. Any tangible progress there, or news about their new autonomous surface vessels, could drive medium-term growth and certainly investor interest. And finally, you always have to keep an eye on the broader factors. Government defense spending trends, regulatory approvals for drone and autonomous systems, these always play a big role in this sector. Essentially, it's about watching for tangible progress, real evidence that they're delivering on those ambitious growth plans.
Okay, this sounds like a lot of potential, absolutely, but also a lot of ifs and uncertainties hanging out there. Where are the big risks here that investors really need to be aware of? What's the elephant in the room that sort of gives it that balanced 5-10 rating?
Right, the elephant in the room. The number one risk, the thing that really ties into that 5-10 rating, is undoubtedly execution risk. Plain and simple. Can they truly meet those incredibly ambitious 2025 revenue targets? It sounds great on paper, but that depends so heavily on securing and fulfilling those government contracts, especially the U.S. Army SRR-related Black Widow drone sales, and successfully scaling up manufacturing. There's a huge difference between projected orders and actual profitable deliveries at this scale, and frankly, they are largely unproven on that front. That's the big question mark. Beyond that, there's still significant financial risk. Even with the recent capital raise, they're still not profitable. They have substantial losses. This implies a persistent burn risk if growth falters, or maybe if those large contracts don't materialize as quickly as they hope. They need to turn the corner on profitability eventually to be sustainable long-term.
Okay, so execution and financials. What else?
We also have market and volatility risk. As we saw clearly with the technicals, this stock has extremely high volatility. That makes it particularly risky, especially for short-term traders. Prices can swing dramatically, leading to quick gains, sure, but also potentially substantial losses. It demands a very high tolerance for risk. And lastly, there's sector risk. The drone and unmanned systems markets are just intensely competitive, and they're subject to geopolitical whims and regulatory pressures. New technologies pop up, government priorities shift, unforeseen regulations could appear. All these things could impact their trajectory. It's a dynamic, constantly changing landscape they're operating in.
So if someone is looking to maybe trade this, not invest long-term, but trade it, what's crucial to keep in mind given all these overlapping risks?
Yeah, for traders, even with what looks like healthy daily trading volume, the price can be incredibly volatile. That warrants really careful stop-loss management. You absolutely need to be prepared for sharp movements and have a clear exit strategy in place before you even enter. Because, yeah, the ride can be very bumpy.
Okay, so given everything we've uncovered in this deep dive, the ambitious projections, the current financial struggles, those bearish technical signals, and those undeniable risks, What's the final word on Redcat Holdings? Is it a good time to buy now? Or is it maybe a situation better suited for patient observation from the sidelines?
Well, that 5 out of 10 rating really does summarize it pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
It clearly presents promising long-term growth potential, mainly due to that strong contract pipeline and their improved liquidity post-fundraise. However, it absolutely carries substantial risk, stemming from the recent poor financial performance, the current bearish technical signals, and those significant execution uncertainties we keep coming back to. It's a very complex picture, certainly not a straightforward buy recommendation for everyone. It asks a lot from an investor,
Right.
a lot of faith, a lot of patience.
Right. So for someone who hears all that, understands the risk, and is still thinking about maybe jumping in, what's the best entry point, according to our sources, to potentially gain exposure while trying to minimize that downside risk a bit?
Our sources suggest the best entry price range to consider might be between $6.40 and $6.80. That range is right around those current support levels we discussed earlier. Entering there might provide a potential floor, allowing investors to gain exposure at a point where buying interest might emerge, possibly offering a slightly better risk-reward profile. But again, no guarantees.
And what about the investment horizon? Is this looking more like a quick flip opportunity, or is it definitely a long-term hold for the truly patient investor?
For long-term investors, this could really only be considered a speculative growth play. Full stop. It's suitable only if you are genuinely comfortable with the current losses, the significant volatility we've hammered home, and that inherent execution risk. You would be investing in a vision for the future, fundamentally, not in current profitability or stability. Short-term traders, on the other hand, should probably exercise extreme caution given the current downtrend and that high volatility. However, they could watch for a breakout above resistance, maybe above $7.23, as a potential buy signal. That might indicate a shift in the short-term technical trend and potentially offer a quick swing trade opportunity.
Okay. And for those short-term traders, any specific advice on managing that risk in a stock this, well, twitchy?
Yes, absolutely. Our sources strongly suggest using a stop loss near that support level at $6.40. That's crucial to limit downside risk if the stock does continue to decline past that potential floor. For take-profit targets, traders could maybe set an initial, more conservative target near the resistance level at $7.23. For those looking for more aggressive, maybe slightly longer-term gains, the analyst price target way up at $13 could serve as a higher-end goal, but that's obviously a much more speculative, longer-term horizon.
So Redcat Holdings. A really fascinating company, you have to admit. Incredible future potential in a booming industry. But at the same time, currently navigating some pretty significant financial headwinds and a really volatile market. It's truly a high-risk, high-reward scenario playing out right before our eyes. Perfectly encapsulating that 5/10 rating, really.
It really does. And this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to consider. In an emerging industry like this, one driven by innovation in these ambitious large-scale contracts, how much weight should you actually give to current financial performance versus those future growth projections? Maybe just as importantly, versus the proven ability to execute on those ambitious plans. It's a balance every single investor has to strike for themselves. And Redcat Holdings, it presents that dilemma perfectly.
Absolutely. A lot to think about there. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Redcat Holdings. We really hope this has given you a clearer picture and maybe some valuable insights to help guide your own decisions. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into your most pressing questions. Until next time.